Be good. Be very good.
Hey guys, it's me, Yaya. What's up, people? How you doing? It is a great day. I am excited to be here. I know you said that, right? Because I always say that. And I really am excited to be here. This is a wonderful day, and I have an amazing author on the show of, okay, we have to just look at his book because why not find a way? Have I always said, like, okay, this is Dream Chasers Radio. This is where your dreams, you can see all of my interviews here and see people going after their dreams, their goals, their hopes, their aspirations. And that's exactly why I love the name of this book. Why not find a way? Because why not? We need to find a way. If you can't make a way, we need to find one. If it hasn't been paid for you, then guess what? Pave yourself your own way to do it. All right. And that's why I love my next guest. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Edward Rohs. Thank you.
You are welcome. You are very welcome. In fact, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving me this opportunity because the reality is, I don't think it's no accident. I think God works in mysterious ways. He brought us together. The other day when we were supposed to be on the air, we had mechanical difficulties, technical difficulties. And you and I got to know each other for 1 hour, and it was amazing. What a small world. You were from the Bronx, New York, where I spent volunteering for 17 years with the Fordham basketball team, and you were from 2 or 3 blocks away by the botanical gardens and the
Yeah.
botanical gardens and the Bronx Zoo. What
Yeah.
a small world. This is no accident. We got together today. Yeah, yeah. And I want to thank you. I really appreciate you having me on your show.
Oh, the pleasure is mine. I mean, it wouldn't be a show without you here. Just, let you know. So, the biggest thing I know that you wrote a book prior to this book. So you're a proficient author, I call it. Once you pass the first book, I mean, you're an author, obviously, if you write one book, but you become a serial author, which is an offense in some cases. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
So when you write a second one, tell me about the first book and what drove you to write the second.
Okay. My first book was called Raised by the Church, Growing Up in New York City Catholic Orphanages. I spent
Mm,
19 years from 6 months of age to 19 years of age in Catholic orphanages from one borough to another borough, from the Brooklyn, Queens, and Long Island, etc.
wow.
What happened was my mother and father had me out of wedlock. They weren't married. They worked in a factory together, and my father was married to someone else, a person named Linda. And the three of them used to go out every Friday out and socialize every Friday night. And then at the same then what happened was my reality is my father started cheating and went out with my mother. So they had me, and then when they had me, I was in St. John's Hospital in Queens for 2 or 3 weeks because they didn't know what to do with me. They wanted an abortion, but they couldn't afford an abortion, so they were stuck in the hospital. And the hospital said to them, "Listen, your son's been here for 2 weeks. He's got to get out of here. We can't just keep him here forever." So they gave me to a maternal aunt for 6 months in a rooming house in Brooklyn, downtown Brooklyn,
Mm,
by the where the Nets play basketball in downtown Brooklyn. And what happened was she was in a rooming house, a furnished room by herself, and she was
mm.
taking care of him. And she couldn't take it. She kept begging him, "You got to get rid of him. I'm going to be thrown out. I'm going to be thrown out. You have to get rid of him. I'm sorry. I mean to be so cool, but I can't. I can't take care of him." And so I they brought me to my first orphanage on the steps of the Angel Guardian Home in Brooklyn. And for the first 12 years of my life, the Sisters of Mercy took care of me for 30 years. And when I was two
Wow.
years old to 5 years old, I was an institution. And from 4 years old to 6 years old, in the second institution in downtown Brooklyn by the Brooklyn Navy Yard or Brooklyn Bridge. Then we went from there. I went to Long Island to a place in Syosset, Long Island. And I lived in dormitories really for 19 years between 18 boys and 72 boys in one room.
Mm.
The shelters remind me of the way I was raised. When later on in life, I oversaw contracts, mental health contracts, and I used to get very upset when I went to these shelters and they said, "What's your problem?" I said, "Well, this reminds me of the way I was raised." They said, "What?" I said, "For 19 years, I lived in places like this in one room for 19 years, between 18 and 72 kids," and
Mm.
they were shocked. They were shocked that my upbringing was, but they did the best they could. I'm not criticizing. I'm
Yeah.
very proactive. I believe that the nuns and the brothers and the lay they did the best they could. In fact, the last place I was at, the institution, the jail was right across the street, the Brooklyn Civic Center, right downtown Brooklyn. And the counselor said, "That's Ed Rohs. When you leave it, that's where you're going, right across the street to the jail."
Mhm.
And I
Wow.
says, "But you don't answer back. As a child, you always keep your mouth shut. But then my brother said to you, you're wrong. I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it. I don't care what happens." So at 19 years old, I was discharged. And I was in the outside world by myself. I had no family, no nothing. And they
Mm.
gave me a furnished room and a job in the stock room. And from there, I was on my own. That gives you background. And then I went
Wow.
to, because of education, because what happened was when I went from the eighth grade to the ninth grade, I intentionally got left back because I was afraid to go from Rockaway, Queens, New York to downtown Brooklyn. Because the kids would come back and say, "Hey, when you go downtown, it's all you get mugged. Right across the street, you'll get mugged. It's right across the street from the jail, drug addicts, etc. on Atlantic Avenue, downtown Brooklyn." So I was afraid. So I came up with a plan, and because I was always in a class for the gifted, I was always in the smart classes with the Meredith brothers, who ran schools across the country, and of course the main campus was University of Dayton.
Mhm.
And I intentionally failed all my subjects.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and the principal called me in and says, "Ed Rohs, you're failing your subject. You're in the honor class. You're in the skip for the gifted. What's going on? What's going on?" I didn't have the heart to tell him that I'm doing it on purpose because I was afraid to go to Brooklyn. And so
Oh my
when
gosh.
so in the spring he calls me and says, "I have bad news for you, Ed Rohs. I have to hold you back." I made believe I was upset. I said, "Oh, I'm sorry." When I walked out of his office, I said, "Yay!" But then I learned later on I learned I hurt myself because when I picked my high school in Brooklyn, I was always with boys for 14 years. I was with boys, boys, boys. So I wanted to be with girls. So I only picked the high school, New Hampshire High School in Brooklyn, to be with girls, not for academics, not the smarts, not to
Oh
learn,
my gosh.
but to be with girls. But that hurt. But that hurt me. And the
Yeah.
reason why it hurt me is they gave me the general diploma, and I never studied. I didn't have to study. It was easy. There was no challenge. So I went. So when I left, they discharged me at 19 years of age into a furnished room with all men 65 years old and older. So 19 years old, I'm in a rooming house with these old men on my own for the first time in my life. They were good. These two found me a job in a stock room in downtown Brooklyn, and they gave
Mhm.
me a furnished room. And the rest, I was on my. I didn't have to cook. I didn't have to shop. I never went to a supermarket in my life until I was 19, 20 years of age.
Oh wow.
Everything was brought to the institution, so I had no idea how to go shopping, how to check an account, electric bill, gas bill, etc. So I just walked
Wow.
around the block, just walked, and then decided to go to community college first to get my grades up because I had no high school. I went first year of high school. I went to a community college in downtown Brooklyn, and then I
Mhm.
went to St. Francis College in downtown Brooklyn, and then I wanted to go to Fordham University, Jesuit school. So then I went to my junior senior year. I went to Fordham University in the Lincoln Center campus.
Mhm.
And then I graduated, and then I worked in an institution with kids. I coached with kids. I did mental health. I did all kinds of stuff, and then I got my master's degree in social work administration. And then
Wow.
before university, I was on the board of the alumni association of the School of Social Service, and I became president of the association. And the dean of the school, Dr. Peter Bond, was beautiful because, "Ed, you don't realize it. Look where you came from, and you're the president of one of the largest social work schools in the country." I said, "Well, no big thing, because that's why you're good at. You're humble. That's why you're good. You're humble." He
Yeah.
goes, soon as you step down, they were fighting like vultures to become president.
Oh my gosh.
but it didn't phase me. And even today, I work with kids now. I work with kids in Florida now. They try to beat Shores. The Basilica of St. Paul. Middle school basketball. I coach middle school basketball.
Mm.
And I won five. I've been in the championship game for the last 6 years in a row.
Mhm.
But before that, Fordham University, I was the volunteer strength coach for 17 years, from 1982 to 1999. And what
Wow.
happened was that's when Fordham University Press said, "Hey, we got to do your story." And so Fordham University, I had Judith Destrin, my co-author. I made the co-author because she was my editor. She took my manuscript and turned it into gold.
Wow.
She goes, "You're very nice
That's
making me a
amazing.
co-author." She goes, "You're
That's
very nice
amazing.
making me a co-author." I says, "You look, I have no status. You're just like this book here, the second book, Donna Grabowski. She was a teacher and principal, and I know for 30 years. I made
Mhm.
her the editor. I said to her, again, you turn my manuscript into gold.
Mm.
And so, and here's why I did this the second book. And then you asked that question. At Ford University, there was the dean of the law school, John Ferrick. He's 90
Mhm.
years of age now. 10 years ago, I met him when I was on the board of the School of Social Work, and he was the Alumni Association, the dean of the school, the law school.
Right.
And he wrote a book. And his upbringing, right now, today, everybody's against immigrants. Immigrants. It's a bad time to be an immigrant.
Mhm.
But the reality is, immigrants made this country.
Yes.
And so what happened was, him, an Irish gentleman, his father came from Ireland to the South Bronx, with 5 kids. All he had was his hands. He was a laborer. So he couldn't
Mm.
afford it. So they lived in the South Bronx, and he was raised in the South Bronx. He went to grammar school there, and then he went to Fordham University, up where you know that campus.
Yeah.
He never left the South Bronx. He stayed in the South Bronx. He was turning Spanish. It didn't phase him one bit. He went from the South Bronx to the North Bronx to school by train and bus.
Mm.
Then when he went to law school, he went from the South Bronx, stayed in the South Bronx, and went down through Harlem, all the way to the law school downtown. Never was afraid of blacks, never was afraid of Spanish, never was afraid of people. I says, John, unbelievable. He goes, Edward, we're all God's people. We're all God's
Yeah.
people. It never phased him one bit. And right now he gives to his first church in the South Bronx, his first congressional district. Is the
Mhm.
poorest congressional district in the country.
Wow.
And he still goes there because it devotes his time. So when he wrote that book, when he wrote that book, I said, I'm writing, as you just inspired, as what you just inspired me to write my second book.
Oh, wow.
Okay,
Wow.
that's how I did the second book.
Wow. That is wow.
I'm sorry, I talk fast. I apologize.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I understood everything. I understood everything. It's so beautiful to see that you are sharing your story. Not only that, what you went through, and your family is not a traditional family. It's
No,
it's
I love
what you make
family.
of it. I absolutely love that though, because it shows that no matter where you come from, you can find your way. You can
That's
just
why I
find
give
your
it.
way.
Well, guess what I came with the title? Guess what I came with the title? You'll love this. I'm thinking of the title, and I'm telling the pastor of my Basilica of St. Paul's Church in Daytona Beach. I'm telling the story. I'm very competitive. I don't like losing. And he says, why not? I said, I'm sorry, I don't. I said, well, I like that title. Why not? And so
Mhm.
because of him, that's why I call it Why Not Find a Way. Because
Mhm.
even though he's a pastor, he's a priest, he's competitive too. He coached basketball too. He ran track at the University of Florida. So he's an
Hmm.
athlete. So he understands competition, even though he's a priest now.
Yeah.
You got to find a way to get it done.
Yes.
There's only time there's excuses is if you have a mental disability. Then otherwise there's no excuse. If you're abused, I was abused, abandoned, and neglected,
Mm.
and I still made something of myself. So that's why
Wow.
I tell people there's no excuse. Prejudice, yes. Discrimination, yes. Poverty, yes. Drugs, yes. Domestic. For example, I always feel like foster care. People always blame the foster care system. It's not the foster care system. The foster care system is made up of all the ills of society. The foster
Yeah.
care represents the ills of society. You look at the foster care system, that's our society. If you reflect back on that, you'll see it's not their fault. It's a system. Give people the resources, keep them home. Don't put them in foster care. Keep them at home and give them the resources. Give the family the resources to keep the kid intact with their family. That's my belief.
Hmm. Wow.
I'm sorry.
Wow. No, 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 it's fine. You know, you've gone through so many ups and downs, right?
I
And
was
in this
abused, and
book,
I was sexually abused too. And that's why I'm not married today because I've tried relationships, girls. Every time I went out, went steady, it always fell through. And I realize now I should have went to therapy. In
mm,
my time, I played football.
it's never too late.
Well, it was macho. I was macho, and but now I realize now I should have went to therapy. I should have went to therapy because I was abused. I kept it quiet for years. I
Mm.
even tell the Ford employees. I never told anybody I was in institutions. They were shocked because I didn't want sympathy. I don't like people feeling sorry for me, and so I kept it a
Wow.
secret. And so one
Mhm.
day I said, you know what, Ed, you got to help. You got to tell your story to help people. You got to
That's
help people
right.
tell your story. And the kids on the team were shocked. For 17, they all went, What? You were off? Yeah. How come you
Yeah.
didn't tell us? Because I don't want no sympathy. We would have worked harder for you.
Wow.
We would have worked harder for you. So I made a
Yeah.
mistake. I didn't. I kept it a secret.
Wow.
Now I'm telling you, you allowed me this opportunity to spread my message. You can
Yeah.
do it. If I can do it, you can do it.
Definitely. Definitely. Wow. Wow. We're gonna take a second and go to a break, but we'll be right back. Don't you guys go anywhere. My gosh. Well, I hope you're enjoying the show. Oh my gosh. I am so very excited to have you here. 4% of you. The 96% that have watched over and over again and tuned into a lot of my shows have not subscribed. I have over 41,000 people here, and that would overfill a stadium, which is amazing. I never thought I could ever fill a stadium, but for YouTube, that's kind of a little 4%. So if the 96% of you, oh my gosh, that's so many people, would please take a moment and click the subscribe button, I would be so grateful. And back to the show. Thank you.
And,
I'm telling you, wow.
and, and I will do that to your show. I will
Thank
subscribe.
you.
You got it.
Thank you. Thank you. So I mean that is crazy because I mean, I don't and not to say anything evil or bad or even like false. I don't know of any woman in my life that has not been either raped or molested or both.
See, see, and that's
I
what I'm
don't know.
saying.
I all of my friends, all of them. They one or the other or both. Yeah, it's
But
sad, isn't
but
it?
but there's services out there for them. I didn't realize that there are services out there for them.
Yeah,
They,
their services, yeah.
and they need help to go to get. People say, "Well, go get service." It's not easy to go get service. They need help to go get the service.
Yeah.
They need to be motivated to go get the service.
Yeah. Yeah, cuz it's hard. It's not easy to
Well, they're
admit
victims.
that.
They're victims. They're victims. For example, many years I didn't realize I was blaming myself, and people said, "Ed, no, you were at 12 years old. You were a victim." I was
Mm.
ashamed, and they said, "You shouldn't be ashamed. It was not your fault. An adult
Oh,
befriended you and took you in and abused you."
oh my gosh. That's terrible.
Well,
That's terrible.
that's why even the Catholic Church. I left the church for 30 years, and then one day I realized the church didn't. In fact, they were my support. The Catholic Church was my support for 19 years. They did a fantastic job, and I left. Then I realized it was an individual that snuck into the system.
Mm.
He beat the system and snuck into the system. So I couldn't blame him. So now I'm very heavily involved with the church because I realized the church didn't do it. It was the individual people that do the abuse, the pedophiles. They're the
Mm.
ones, not the church, any church. You can't blame any church, whether it's Jewish, Protestant, Catholic, Muslim, you can't blame any church. It's the individual people that do those terrible acts.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. If you could do it today, if you could go to therapy, have you gone to therapy since though?
No.
If you could go to therapy today, what would you be looking for? Like for what?
Well,
What is the residual of what you went through that still remains today?
what remains is that I have problems with relationships, intimacy,
Mhm.
because I'm afraid of rejection.
Mm.
That's the biggest fear. I've been rejected all my life, and that's what it is. For 19 years, that's why we never got. For example, a priest at the last place I was in, Father Harris, when he had a problem, when I was in as a supervisor unit director, he always came to me when he wanted to evaluate staff. I just, Father, why do you always come to me?
Mhm.
He goes, well, you might not realize this, that because you were bounced from place to place to place for 19 years, you never built any relationship, long-term relationship with anybody. You
Yeah.
were, you were safe. You had a safety net. You were guarded, and therefore you're very good in judging people and very perceptive in judging people. That's why when I met you last 2 days ago, we connected right away
Yeah.
because my gut. I'm not trying to win points here, but we hit it off.
Yeah, we did.
I felt. Look. I'm not even nervous. Look, I'm talking to how many thousands of people. I'm not even nervous because of you. Because of you.
Aw, thank
You
you.
have that ability to connect.
Mhm. Well, I think that you have that ability as well. And I just think that it's a little bit easier for you when you connect with someone because you have something in common with.
Okay.
Also, someone who's patient and understanding. You know what I mean? We all need that. And rejection, hmm, rejection is not. I always say that rejection literally isn't the rejection of me. If someone was to reject me, I can't say you, okay? But if I was in a situation and someone rejected me, it wasn't me they're rejecting. It's an aspect of myself that they lack, that they're either jealous of, or it's I'm not really needed in their life at that moment in time. So it's not a rejection of me as a person, it's a rejection of me as the entity by which I represent that they don't need at the moment.
Well, it's funny.
Uh, so,
It's funny you say it because it's funny you say that. It's funny you say it because when I graduated from school of social work, I got my state license in clinical social work, and so I was a psychotherapist for 5 years,
mhm.
and I worked in East New York, Brooklyn, a predominantly black community to provide mental health services. And I
Mm,
found out just what you just said. A lot of them, once I started working doing therapy with them, they had a hard time opening up because
yeah.
because one time before the '60s, only the wealthy people went to see a psychotherapist. It was you go to Manhattan, New York City, they brag about their therapist. They walk all day about their therapist. But in
Mhm.
a lot of communities, they see it as a weakness.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and I'm just as guilty. I swear it's a weakness. So I used to tell the patients, the clients, say, listen, I know what you're going through because I went through it. What? I
Yeah.
went through it as a child. I felt I don't need this stuff. I felt it was a sign of weakness, and I realized I was wrong. That's why you come in here. You taking the big step. You're on your way to recovery, and you're gonna relapse because relapse is part of recovery.
Yeah.
You will relapse, but your recovery you'll do very fine. You'll do well. And it was great to see these people go out and feel strong with themselves. Because in fact, one time a coach told me, "I think you make my players weaker." I said, no. I said, "Coach, to the contrary. When they come to the weight room, that's a therapeutic milieu. It's therapy, and I build them up. I don't build them down. I start them
Mhm.
where people are at, and you build them up. You don't build them down.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's what therapy does. It brings people up. It doesn't make them weak. It will make you
Yeah.
weak. You stop them where they're at.
Yeah, yeah, and it's the same thing I try to do here, push people up and let them know that, what you've done is nothing short of a miracle. You've gone back into your past and you've grabbed things that you may or may not want people to know, but you put it out there anyway because there are people out there that are suffering just like you. What do you suggest? I mean, me personally, I come from a huge family on my father's side. And at a very old age, I think some of our family members were in their 90s and they had like 4 and 5 year olds. Go figure. These are the guys.
Wow.
And so I personally don't ever think that there is ever a moment that a man cannot have a kid or have a relationship. Um,
Well, that's good. That's a good example. But you know what
mhm,
is upset in my life? For example, my because my first book in the newspapers, family found me. My brothers
mm,
and sisters reached out to me, and I said, "I'm sorry. I want nothing to do with you. Don't take it personal."
wow.
Because I've already said in my life, I'm very busy right now. I'm very happy right now. Just so you know, I'm
Mhm,
very happy right now. I work with children. I work with college kids. I work with high school kids right now, and I'm happy as can be. And they were shocked and says, "I don't need you. I don't need them." And they don't. They said to me, "Don't blame us for what our mother and father did." I said, "I'm not blaming you. It's just that I have no relationship with you. I never had no relationship with my parents. I didn't even know them." And
mhm,
they accepted. They reached out to me just so you know. A couple of years ago, I did the first book. Everybody calls you. I said, "I'm sorry, I have no interest. I'm very direct, no interest.
mhm. Well, could
I'm very contented."
okay, so I come from a similar kind of relationship aspect with my family. And because I didn't grow up with my brother, well, I grew up with my younger brothers, but my older brother and my older sisters, I didn't grow up with them. So I had no idea they even existed until we found each other. And when we found each other, um, I reached out to them and then they reached back. And then now we have a relationship. It wasn't easy though, because I didn't know them. I didn't build that relationship with them when I was young. But I wanted to not have regrets at the end of my life as to knowing what I could have had or knowing them now and getting to know my nieces and nephews, which I have a lot of. And I think for me, not for you, but for me, okay, because I can't talk for you, but for me, it was it was a it was a sad moment because we had never been introduced by my dad.
Yes,
Um, but it was a happy moment because I can call them and be like, "Hey sis, what's up? I love you. You coming down? I'm going up. We visit." I got my nieces and nephews in my life. Um, it's not the same. Don't get me wrong. If we had grown up together, but I think we've wasted enough time apart that we can't make up for it, but we can definitely continue our lives together. So for me,
yes.
that was my decision that I made with my elder brothers and sisters. And I am the youngest girl in the family. And I found that out. And I was like, wow, that's amazing.
But see, in regards to that, what I've been very fortunate is I have godchildren. I have five, six, seven
Right,
godchildren. They become like what you would call my niece and nephews. They
right,
become my children. So it's funny you say that because they actually fulfill that role. I know them since they were born, and now they're 21, 20, 19, and
right.
they're African American. They're part African American, part Spanish. But I know them since they were babies. Since they're so
Hmm.
they're my what you would call my nieces and nephews. So
Yeah,
it's almost like the same scenario. They've taken the place of my biological families,
yeah.
and that's so I already took care of that need because they're my family.
Right, right. I
I
got
understand what you're saying, but
Yeah,
they're
no,
my
I
family.
can't I am not trying to put anything on you.
No, no, no,
Everybody
no,
had
no, I don't.
but the whole thing was me personally saying that was because everybody has something that's gonna work for them. And that's what I was thinking that your book would be about. But why not find a way? Find a way. So you found your way by
Yes,
having your godchildren as your
there you
nieces
go.
and nephews and your
There
family
you go.
members and making sure that that aspect of your life is covered and I found a way by actually going ahead and connecting with my brothers and sisters and making sure that, and that was my decision. And your decision was different. You know what I mean? But it doesn't make it right or wrong because
No,
why? We
don't
still have
worry.
family members and we still have loves and we still have children and we still have a part in a family structure that completes us.
Well, that's why this book is fat.
That's why I
People
thought
like
that
it.
book was, yeah, why not find a
Right.
way?
Exactly. Because people tell me now they read my first book. They love this book better. I said, why? You give good examples, concrete examples. People need concrete examples. They need motivation, inspiration, and your book does that. It's amazing that it's for anybody with a heartbeat. It sounds, it's for anybody with a heartbeat, because when you read this book, they're going to see people from all walks of life: black,
Mhm.
white, yellow, green, you name it, male, females, young, old. They all found a way to do it.
Yeah.
There's no excuses. The key thing is resiliency, faith. You have faith too. I'm very faithful with my faith. Faith
Mhm.
helps me get through it too. My church
Yeah.
helps me tremendously. But resiliency, determination,
Yeah.
passion. Uh, I have my beliefs. Find people I always said find people that are my 10 beliefs. Find people that are smarter than you. You can learn from people that are smarter than you. I don't mean just college. Anybody that's smarter than you. You can learn from people that are smarter than you. Associate with people that are successful. Doesn't matter who they are, what they're doing, as long as they're successful. And then struggle. We all have struggles. Everybody has struggles. Everybody has obstacles to overcome, and we find a way
Okay.
to overcome those obstacles. I always found a way. Just so you know, I always found a way. When I wanted a job, I worked in district attorney's office. I was a detective investigator. I always wanted to be in law enforcement, but I had bad eyes. And then I found a way. I thought, okay, the DA's office was less restricted as far as vision. So I was
Mhm.
able to find law enforcement work with the DA's office. And as a result of that, I made an arrest. They hit the New York Daily News. And that's when I found my family for the first time.
Mhm.
Because if I didn't make that arrest in Brooklyn, I would never found my family. But
Right.
I found a family.
That's
And now,
beautiful.
and now I have a cousin. Yeah. Yes. All because of an arrest. The guy, I was in the DA's where he called me up and he goes, please don't hang up, please don't hang up, please don't hang up. I may be your uncle. I said, what? I
Oh
may
my
be your uncle.
gosh.
So then I hung up. I took his number and I called the social worker that had me when I was a kid. I said, Elena Correll, I said, you got to help me. What? I have a person. He might be a nut, but he called me and said he saw my picture in the newspaper with this arrest, and he might be a nut. No, he's not a nut. He's not a nut. If I recollect, you do have a side of the family that was successful.
Hmm.
That's what? Meet him. Go to a restaurant, meet him, neutral place, and pay the bill to show him that you're independent. So I called him back and says, Mr. Rose, I'll meet you in Queens, New York, Queens Boulevard. There was I don't know if you heard of the restaurants, Howard Johnson's. There used
Of
to be a Howard
course.
Johnson restaurant all over
Yeah,
the
of
country.
course. No, I
Okay?
know. Yeah.
I said, oh, wow. I said, I'll meet you in Howard Johnson's in the Queens. It's a neutral place for both of us.
Hmm.
I met him with his wife in a mink stole and his all dressed up. And I just had a plain old shirt and tie. Anyway, he hugged me and he's crying, and I'm going, "What's his problem? What's his problem?" Because
Hmm.
then I had no emotions at all. You know what I mean? I had no
Yeah.
emotional feelings. But over time, I started to trust him. It took me a long time. That I told him, "Be patient. It's going to take me a long time to trust you." I didn't tell him because I was abused. Because I'm God. I'm always God. When you're abused, I didn't go for therapy. As you said,
Yeah.
I should have went to therapy. I'm always on God.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the
This book
thing.
is, and that's why I thank you very much.
No, no
Yeah.
problem. I mean,
Oh, if people don't buy this book, they're nuts.
well, see,
I'm
that's the
serious.
thing. It's like it's beautiful because you see the resilience of a human nature. You see the the things
That's the
that
word, resilience.
so yeah, so that you're not feeling guilty. Hey, you have to make decisions in your life that are better for yourself in the long run. And some people won't like those decisions, but that doesn't matter because those are your decisions and you have to live with them and no one else really is responsible for your own decisions. They have to respect that. I absolutely love it. Why not find a way? What kind of suggestions do you give to people when they find themselves in similar situations like you in the book, and why not find a way? What is your advice?
My advice is to sit back and reflect on what you want to accomplish. When you're overwhelmed, sit down and just reflect and write down things what you'd like to do.
Mhm.
Write down. Not a whole sentence. What do I want to be? What do I want to do? And you might not be sure. I went to college. I didn't know what I wanted. You write
Right.
down, and that gives you hope.
Yeah.
Start writing things down, and then figure out how do I go about doing that. That's the key. How do I go about doing that? What do I do? Do I go to the internet? Do I go on webpages? Or do I go to the library? Do I go here? Do I talk to friends? Do I talk to loved ones? That? How do I go about accomplishing what I want to accomplish? That
Mhm.
is the key. Once you know what you want to do, then the next question is, how do I go about finding out how to do whatever I want to do? Whether it's
Yeah.
research, whether it's computers, whether it's talking to people, talking to loved ones, talking to people. That's the key. Is reach out to people. Don't hold it in. Reach out to people that can help you. People, that's why the book. Everybody reach out. You can help them.
Yeah.
Everybody needs help.
Yeah.
Even your production company.
Oh yeah.
You're always moving to make it better and better and better. Keep raising the bar.
Yeah.
Never never, never be satisfied. I hate to tell you
Right.
that. Never be satisfied. The day you're satisfied, you're dead. Because the day you're satisfied, someone else is ready to take your place.
That's right. You're not
That's why
irreplaceable.
exactly. And then pray in your own way. Pray to God for advice, for assistance. Because
Yeah,
God is there for you. God is there for you. In this country, we need more Christian in our lives. We do. We need. We've gotten away from it, and well, because they say the reason being is that the more industrialized a country is, the less religious it is. The less industrialized a country is, the more religious they are. There's a certain truth to that,
yeah.
but there's no
Yeah.
excuse. But there's no excuse.
No. No, there is none. Wow.
Oh, I always tell them. Oh, here's another word. How do you advise the people? Never
Mhm.
say the word can't. Take the word can't at the vocabulary, because when you say can't, it means you won't. You're saying you won't.
Mhm. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
always say the word can't. When I hear can't, I go, stop. I don't want to hear can't, because can't means you won't. So no more. That's the key word. When you go away today, don't say can't to anybody, because that means you won't.
Well, I can't say enough about your book.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, that's I have to say that this is beautiful. I mean, I love it. Why not find a way is revolutionary. You know, people don't realize what you're saying, I think. And if you think about it, why not find a way? Why not find a way around this? Why not find a way through here? Why not find a way to solve or even heal and to go about your life with no regrets? That's
Thank
beautiful.
you. You just said it. You're better than me. That's exactly what it is. And God bless you. Thank you very much. Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much. I really, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate it.
Oh,
This
thank you.
opportunity.
Thank you. We're
Yeah.
gonna go ahead
It,
and put that
was,
book up. Go ahead. Yeah,
there's
we're
the
gonna go
book.
ahead.
It's at
Yeah,
Amazon, Amazon and Barnes and Nobles.
that's what I was
Amazon,
getting
Barnes,
ready to
it's
say.
only, it's only, and I told the publisher, only $15. I
Hmm.
want to make them, I want so everybody can afford it. Because to
Yeah,
be honest with you, every book that gets sold, guess how much money I get?
yeah.
A dollar. Every book that gets sold, I get $1.85. So I'm not looking to make money.
Well, then that would mean you would need at least 2 million people to make some kind of
Well,
good good standby and
yes,
let's travel the world money.
but it's more important for me to get my story. It's more important for me to get my story. It's more important for me to get my story out. That's what's more
It's
important
very
to me.
much. Yeah.
To
And
help
that's
people, help people, help people.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I say. You know, it's beautiful. Why not find a way? It's available on Barnes and Nobles as well as Amazon. We're gonna have the Amazon link in the description box below, so it'll be easy for you guys to find it. You know, when you make a decision for yourself, just like my friend Edward has made a decision for himself, it's your decision to make. It's no one else's decision to make, and you have to make it for yourself. Make sure that you're going to be able to live with that decision and live into the future with that decision that will be good for you and make your life better. I want to thank you, Edward. Thank you so much.
And thank you very much. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you.
And
Thank
you
you.
and you too. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget to dare to be different every single day of your lives. And until next time, which will be really soon, I'll see you later. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching.